Hello there.
General Kenobi.
For those of you who exist within the realm of electronic music listening and production, you may have heard of a group called Disciple. Now, Disciple has released another big remix contest. Your boy, Savid, has gone and entered that. In this video, I thought I would break down my remix of Sleepwalking. If you haven't heard it yet, it's out on SoundCloud and YouTube. You can go and listen to it. I'll put the link down in the description. So sit back, get comfortable, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Freak out with no cause, oh, and dream like there must be something more.
So here we have it, the Sleepwalking Savid remix project file. I'm going to slap this project file up on Patreon for you guys to download. So if you're interested in that, check that out, and you can have a full deep dive of the project for yourselves. I guess the best place to start would be to go straight to the introduction, because this is how I started my song. I put the a cappella in, and basically I was like, let's make something. So often a place where I will start is just to make a bass line, especially with like a remix where I'm using a vocal. I like to take the vocal itself has its own mood, and then I take a bass and I just make a bass line, and it creates a whole new mood if you create something new. I basically just slapped a Reese bass on here, and that's how I began to come up with some kind of idea.
Tongue tied, I'm so tired, burnt out to get wide. There goes another sleepless night.
So yeah, obviously that's a super simple D, F sharp, E, B progression. 4-note, 4-chord progression, easy as. What I also did was slap a synth on, and this is playing the exact same notes, but it's just a little more in the mid-range area. Flex actually has some awesome stock presets that it comes with. This Arcs and Cityscape, it's sort of like a synthy, Blade Runner-y type presets, and I find them really useful just for creating character in your tracks. So now that bass and that synth are taking care of the sort of lower end and sort of a little bit of the mid end. So what I wanted to do next was just fill up those frequencies, those sort of top end frequencies, and those really wide stereo frequencies. So one thing I did was just slap a Virtual-Right atmospheric sample in there. I love using atmospheric samples, as viewers of this channel will know. So probably the most important part of this whole intro section is this granular vocal I made. This is just a snippet of the actual Sleepwalking a cappella. I've just created the source position automation, and we're simply just moving through that granular sample. So that's actually creating like 4 chords of their own just with the vocal, like switching between source positions. So when we put all of that together, add a little impact and a little snippet of some a cappella, we get a nice full intro sound. So there's honestly not a lot more to this verse intro section other than bringing in some drums.
This bed can't contain my overthinking.
Now we're moving into the build-up section. Not a lot to it. This is sort of how I would typically make a build-up section. I simply just take away some of the verse elements such as the bass, so we just lose a bit of energy. Obviously take the drums out, so we're just left with the synth, the granular vocal, the atmospheric sample, and obviously the a cappella. And then I've just added my drop lead and my drop chords. They're just going to be filtering in to create a bit of tension and tease the drop a little as we move towards the actual drop. So what I've done with my drop lead and my drop chords, I've just slapped a wet reverb on there and an EQ, and you can see the automations down here. And also I've automated my drop LFO, so it's sort of fading on. So as we enter this build up, I sort of have it so it's quite chill and just smooth. And then as we're moving towards the drop, we're getting harder and harder and harder. And eventually like the reverb's disappearing, the EQ's disappearing, and the LFO's coming on, and we're really transitioning to that drop. So yeah, once we get to the end of that build up, the drop elements are basically introduced fully, and yeah, we can hit the drop hard. So obviously this build up section is just filled with like rises and crashes and white noise and just lots of stuff to keep the energy levels up. And of course we have some build up drums, some kick and a filtered in snare. So yeah, reasonably standard stuff for a build up, and now we're ready to get into the drop. So the idea for this drop was basically as simple as it seems. It was the idea of a big, heavy future bass, chord stack, bass stack, and lead. It was just a simple idea of 4 chords, 4 bass chords, and just like a top lead. Literally, it was as simple as creating a 4 chord pattern, and I just put this into 3 chord layers. Just simply pairing 3 layers together to create quite a full chord sound. And the chords are not actually the like full driving force of this drop. It's more the bass and the top lead that are doing all the work. So in the bass there is 3 bass layers and a sub. So again, that bass is just following that 4 chord progression. And then last but definitely not least is the drop lead. So this is just 4 notes per chord. This is just a single layer. I'm actually using the Hang On lead that I used from the Petit Biscuit Hang On remake. I think I just tweaked this a bit so it was a bit more like constant, a bit more full. It's just like a big wide detuned saw synth thing. So if we put all 3 of those different sections together, we get a big heavy chord and bass and lead stack. So that was a part of the process of this drop. I got to this point and I was like, well heck, where do I go from here? And you know, the best place to go is just to add some mother freaking heavy ass drums. So that's what I did. So yeah, we got a heavy kick in there and a layered snare. You'll hear that I actually added a broken glass sample in that snare. That adds a pretty cool tone to the snare, makes it pretty interesting. I also added just some rides generically into the drop, you know, just for some high end. And then some hi-hats playing real fast. And I think the last but most important part of creating this drop was the addition of the LFO filter. So I've sent all those big heavy layers to this bus, and what I've got in that is the LFO tool from Xfer. And you can see that I've drawn in this volume automation, so it has like an open and then a wump wump. And that's what is creating that pulsing sort of sound in the drop. When I got to this point, I knew that I wanted to do something with an LFO to make it a real like ear experience, you know, like I basically just wanted to consume your ears and really try and melt your brain in a way. So I thought a volume automation, mate, that'll do the trick. So yeah, something so simple can just create an awesome effect and really change the way your music sounds. That's actually quite obvious. That's exactly what I was going for. Some cool little additions I did in the drop is just add some ambient vocal. Just, you can't actually really hear it, but it's there, and it's just filling up some frequencies a bit, so, you know, it's Jay chillin'. So I also have these risers and downlifters in there, and they're not just playing constant like a normal riser might do, they're actually connected to the LFO filter as well. And I've also gone and put some uplifters at the end of the drop, including this riser sound. And you can hear that that's pulsing as well. That's just creating a cool energy towards the end of the drop, you know, signaling that the drop's about to end and sort of building towards nothingness, I guess. To get out of this drop, I just created a wet reverb automation that basically just sucks all the energy from the big heavy chord stack and makes it into a big floaty atmospheric reverb. So yeah, once we're done with that drop, we basically transitioned into the next verse. I changed up the drum loop and I went with this cool drum and bass loop, keeping all the same instruments going, but adding this cool drum beat really switches it up and gives it a cool new energy.
Freak out with no cause, and dream like there must be something more.
So yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of my remix of Sleepwalking. Again, if you want to listen to the whole track, I will put the link in the description for the SoundCloud and the YouTube video. Definitely go over and check those out and listen to the full final product. Hope you learned something from this project breakdown. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Go listen to the song. Subscribe. Like, comment, dislike if you want, and enjoy the rest of your day. It's been a pleasure.
Keep sleepwalking.